Hi, this is Alex King at Aberdeen University, my second blog for 2010, and I'm going to talk about this new TV show in the United States, Soundtracks. The first one opens with the reporter Alexis Bloom talking about a Russian propaganda song, this Putin anthem, a man like Putin, Takova, Kak Putin. And I thought it was weird that she began with these allusions to Rachmaninoff and Tchaikovsky. What about 20th century music? I think that annoying pop duo Tatu a lot more relevant to understanding contemporary Russian music. And Shostakovich is important for understanding sort of the traditions of this kind of thing. He was a buddy of Stalin, and he not only made a lot of really great music, but he made plenty of crap too, plenty of propaganda crap. He did some imitation jazz that was made safe for Soviet socialist paradise. And I think that's what we got here is a case of safe music. Although in that sense, Yellen's song is not all that much different from the kind of safe music that is flooding the airwaves in Britain and the United States. Simon Cowell, for instance, is pumping out one big hit after another precisely because of he knows what a hit sounds like. And these sort of hit factories are making safe music. However, I don't want to discount the power of that song to talk to ordinary Russian people. And that's also something I think that Alexis Bloom may not give enough credence to. Well, Putin is the ideal man for, say, the woman in the provinces. Certainly the provinces that I've spent the most time in, Kamchatka. Most men are drinking far too much, and the ones who aren't are cheating on their wives. And a lot of those guys are unreliable, particularly from a woman's point of view. They may have a different sense of reliability among themselves, but Putin has projected an image of rock solid stability and dependability, respectability, the ideal husband. And so a song that celebrates that is going to connect with ordinary women. They want a man like that, and certainly ordinary men as well, that they want to be like that. I wouldn't mind being a hunky fisherman, but I'm gonna have to work on a lot more judo and probably eat less fish and chips to be able to go fishing without my shirt off. I don't think it's necessarily connected to a resurgent nostalgia for the Soviet Union, and without which, that all seems kind of bizarre without understanding the context of the 90s, which was a horrific time. You've got this drunk, geriatric Yeltsin in charge, or not really. Nobody's in charge. But to get back to the 70s, the fact that these young people, so 20s, early 30s, are singing these Soviet songs does not necessarily mean for a total nostalgia for return to the Soviet Union or the CPSU. Those songs are kind of nice, actually. Even if the lyrics are really inane, like, my address is the Soviet Union, is pretty inane lyrics. But I don't listen to the lyrics much of some pretty inane songs in English as well. And then I also think back to my musician buddies in Kamchatka who are making dough on the side by playing to a middle-aged crowd, playing mainly hits from the 70s and 80s. And they set up a Saturday night disco in the movie theater because that's where there's a space in the foyer there in Polana, Kamchatka. And everyone has a good time, and the music is pretty decent, actually. These guys are good rock musicians. They're playing some good tunes. I was dancing to them when I was there. And, I think it's possible to enjoy this music without necessarily needing to want to carry or being obligated to carry all the political baggage associated with that era. Is 80s revival in the United States or the enduring popularity of Madonna necessarily implicating a resurgence of Reaganism? The second segment on the African in Nigeria, Fela Kuti was his name, I thought was an interesting counterpoint, because whereas the Russian song is kind of safe music for the state, whether it was originally intended that way or not. It is. The Kuti's music is dangerous music against the state, and it's dangerous in a lot of ways. You know, the lyrics are talking about corruption and all these sorts of things, but also the music itself is very heterogeneous. It's a mix of stuff of African um, music as well as American jazz, which of course has African roots, and also other contemporary things. And so it's very fluid and heterogeneous and funky. And funky music is often dangerous in a lot of ways, musically and politically and socially. They have this nice clip that of Kuti. He's deceased now, about 10 years already. A nice clip where he states that music's not just for entertainment. It must serve the revolution. And I think he's pointing very clearly there that either you're against the man or you're with the man. And that's exactly what Yellen, the Russian, doesn't want to admit. He just says, "Oh, I'm a professional. I'm a musician. I'm just doing music, and I'm making hits." But I think that's really belies a truth that Kuti speaks in that. But on the other hand, then the third segment, I think blows apart that dichotomy really well. Whereas Yellen is making music in service of the state, and Kuti is making music opposed to the state. Then this other guy, what's his name, Bigайлov, is this Kazakh violinist. He commissions a piece by Aaron Cohen, Sasha's Borat's brother, who's a composer, does all the music for Sacha Baron Cohen's movies. So he commissions him to make a symphony in Kazakhstan, which is a bit dangerous in the sense that this fellow was already notorious for his fake Kazakh national anthem. I think Bigайлov takes some other risks. And he points out that he knows that people were going to be mad at him, but he wasn't terribly worried about those sorts of political things. He seems pretty secure in his position, and it's not really all that risky in that sense. But what the risks that he saw himself taking were musical ones, of commissioning music from this guy who might produce something that sucked, and so a risk that way. And of course, the music is great, and the symphony is really nice. It's interesting, which is to say, it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, which of course great music never is. But it was also really nice how Arun Rath, the reporter who put together the story on Kazakhstan, interviews some people after the show, and people are like, well, yeah, it was a great piece of music, and so we can forgive this guy for his making fun of us. The only thing I can't let slide is I need to pound Arun for claiming that Kazakhs have an ancient culture. He says something like, they have an ancient culture that dates back to Genghis Khan. Well, bullshit. No, they don't have an ancient culture. Their culture is just as modern and contemporary as anybody else's culture, unless you want to say Scots have an ancient culture, Americans have an ancient culture, everybody else has an ancient culture. And yeah, there are continuities that go back a long ways, and there's differences and discontinuities. That's culture, is full of continuities and discontinuities, and it's all contemporary. It's all 2010 everywhere, here in Aberdeen and there in Kazakhstan. It is a great TV show, and go see it. It's pretty cool. I hope to see more. So next time, I'm going to do something completely different. The viewer asked for some more Koryak myths, tales of Imam Kut and his family. So I'll give you some of that next time.